During the last years and decades, executive pay in Europe has risen dramatically. We all know that several factors may influence the remuneration of executives. But one factor which could also be of interest is Americanization. So our research question is, has Americanization also an influence on executive pay? How did we look at this research question? We analyzed the 500 largest stock market firms in Europe. Conclusion number one, yes, Americanization is a driver for executive pay, in particular for CEO pay. Second, what is Americanization? We looked at Americanization at three different levels: the individual, the firm, and the industry level. And we found out at all three levels, Americanization is really relevant. At the individual level, those CEOs having an exposure to the US, for instance by their nationality, by their upbringing, or by international work experience, have a higher pay than those without. When it comes to the firm level, a similar effect can be observed. Firms with a high level of financial links to the US, for instance in ownership, and firms with also lots of acquisitions in the US have CEOs with a higher pay. At the industry level, firms being active in industries dominated by US firms pay their CEOs a higher salary, both fixed and variable salary. And the third conclusion, Americanization has a link to pay, and there is even a higher effect for those firms where CEOs are very, very powerful. In theoretical terms, all this is a contribution which is linked to institutional theory. We argue that European firms are not only exposed to institutional logics which we have here in Europe, but they're exposed to institutional logics in another part of the world. A logic which was always more dominant in the US, now also transferred to Europe with the same ideas, explaining why CEOs are entitled to a higher pay. We also derive some practical conclusions, and one of them is, if we accept Americanization, we also have to accept to some degree a rise in CEO pay. So compensation consultants or compensation committees or supervisory boards deciding on compensation have to take into account that Americanization is a driver for higher pay.